680 to 90 Central.
Welcome to FDIC 2022. Here in the IDEX Fire and Safety booth, we're about to commence a panel discussion of experts on a really tough topic for most fire departments, managing today's staffing challenges. We have three industry experts I'd like to introduce. Our panel is going to be led by Marc Bashoor, the executive editor of Fire Rescue One. As well, we have Kurt Nass, the chief of the Hadley Fire Department in Michigan, and Alan Heyer, the captain of the Lincoln County, Missouri Fire Department. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with our group.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. You know, we hear a lot about staffing challenges. So why the hell is IDEX wanting me to talk about staffing challenges? That was the first thing I thought when this came to be, but we have spent millions and millions of dollars in the fire service on recruitment and retention, right? We've spent all kinds of money on that, and we still have staffing challenges. So what are we doing about it is why we're here. What is one of the strategies to help deal with it? And we're not talking about recruitment and retention, folks. So don't think that this is another discussion about recruitment and retention. We're going to talk about that strategy, and first I want to explain SAM best that I can explain it. Okay, a few years ago here at FDIC, I saw that first deployment as Hale and Sam came together and got that on the floor here. And wasn't really sure what was going on with it. I was in the market for fire trucks at the time. Ultimately, we didn't go with it, not because of what I wanted to do, but because the folks that were looking at it from a committee perspective weren't sure that they could wrap their hands around the technology. So we're going to talk. We're going to talk about wrapping your hands around the technology and how we make that work for your fire department as it relates to staffing challenges. So the SAM system itself essentially digitizes the pump operation. It's the easiest way to talk about it. There's two components we're going to talk about today as we talk to these gentlemen that have deployed systems. One is the SAM system itself, which is what's on the fire truck. And the other is a tablet that allows them to walk around the scene and do the things they need to do, which is kind of bizarre when you think about it. But when you hear the success story from Chief Nass, then I got that right? I got it right. So when you hear that success story, I think it's going to make you a believer. So joining us today, you heard Mike introduce Chief Kurt Nass. He's with the Hadley Township, Michigan Fire Department. You were one of the first to purchase and deploy the tablet system, and with the tablet to deploy the SAMs with the tablet. And Captain Alan Heyer from the Lincoln County, Missouri Fire Protection District, and you folks have just purchased 4 of the systems, have one deployed and getting ready to take delivery of the others. But first I want to talk with Chief Nass. So first, for our listeners, the folks that are out there, tell us a little about your department. Make it short. Tell us a little bit about your department.
My department is a small rural department north of Detroit. I run about 293 runs a year last year, most of those medicals. I have no industry, very light commercial, bedroom community.
So small department.
Yep,
so
small department.
Let's take a quick turn over here to the captain and tell us about your department.
We operate a combination department, so we have career and volunteers, 4 stations, only one staffed with career people, 183 square miles, about 40,000 people, and we run about 2,200 calls a year.
Okay. All right. So a little bit more of a mid-size department. So, Chief, you took delivery of your first unit this past December. No?
We put ours into service July of 2019.
December, July 2019. It's all
2.5 years.
You got one in service, which is great, but
in
you
service
have
for 2.5 years.
you've got a great success story, and I want to go right to that. Let's talk about that success story, and then we'll get a little bit more into the mechanics of that tablet. But tell us about the story you told me about the staffing and how. And I'll just give you. I'll prime it, and he can fill in the holes. Very little staffing showed up for a particular incident compared to what normally shows up, and the tablet saved the day. So I'll prime that with that, and if you can take it from there.
Yep. So normally during the week, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. during the week, we get about 3 to 5 firefighters. So we had an incident in December, 3:30 in the morning. So I should have 18 to 22 personnel show up. Just about everybody is guaranteed on a weeknight like that. And it was a house fire. It was a fatal house fire, civilian. And what happened was I got on scene and I knew where the gentleman was in the house, 75% involved, and he was in the portion of the house that was not involved. So my idea was basically to not let that portion of the home catch on fire.
So you showed up with the engine, or no, you showed up in a chief's vehicle.
Correct.
And you're by yourself.
Correct.
Okay, take us from there. Then the unit shows, the first engine shows up.
So I get on scene. PD says the guy is in that room. I said, that room's not on fire. That's what we're going to save. So my engine calls en route with 5. We have 5 seats. And I'm like, great, we're golden. And the voice on the other end is not the voice I would expect to be on that radio. So they arrive, and my 5 firefighters inside my engine is 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and 2 rookies with no fire academy yet. So I have basically 5, I want to say, kids.
Yeah.
And so what I was able to do was the chief's pulling the line. I also didn't have any officers on the scene as well. So I pulled a line. I took my guy with no experience, brought him over to the window, and I'll grab the tablet in hand. So my truck's over there, the fire's over here. Pull the line, holding onto the tablet, position my rookie at the window. I said, see all this fire over here? Don't worry about that. Our guy is in here. I want you to do not let fire touch this wall. Took my tablet, charged his line. I got it to a pressure that...
Where were you when you were doing that?
Right next to him, standing right next to him. So the window's right here. He's here and I'm here.
How far away was the engine?
The engine's over...
A couple hundred feet?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
It's over by the Bullard sign over there. Anyways, fired up, gave him pressure that I believe that he could handle. And then I went to my other rookie. We pulled another line. Meanwhile, I have my 3 experienced guys, 4-year, 3-year, 2-year.
Right.
They're pulling their own line, and they're going to do interior window. So I went to the other side of the house where you can't see the truck, and I tell this rookie the same thing. See all that fire there? Do not spray any water over there. You keep the fire from getting to this point. Charged my line right next to him. Got it to a pressure that I felt he could handle. Went over to my interior guys. They're jumping inside. Fired up their line. Said, I don't want you to go past that door. Just do not let fire go into that door. So I have my 3 lines. I'm not at the truck. 3 lines charged. And in the meantime, I'm like, I got 75% of fire still going on. I pulled a portable monitor myself, got it positioned, fired it up. I'm still running off the tank, so we had to lay in. We laid in probably 600 feet, something like that.
Non-hydrant area.
Non-hydrant. Everything's exclusively drafting. So I got that thing fired up. I got it aiming where I wanted to aim, shut it down. My incoming department, mutual automatic aid, they came in, my personnel started to increase where I could try and remove the gentleman from the room. But that was my fire. Just 5 kids, myself. I was able to do a 360
with the tablet
with
in
the
your
tablet.
hand.
I knew instantly when I had water, sent up from the drafting engine at the road.
And if one of them had said on the radio, "Chief, I need more pressure in my line," while you were out back doing your 360,
you do a lot of tweaking until you get that initial water. I'm sitting here watching my tank go down, and I'm fidgeting. I think at one point I turned off one of my rookies' lines and kept my interior guys going. We got the water supply and went from there.
And in the same vein, if the incoming company hooked up and gave you too much pressure, what happens here?
Nothing. We don't see the actual end. It'll spill over basically.
Okay. All right.
And when it's filling at the same time.
Yeah.
So I just tell them to shut down.
Wow. So success story, pretty quick into the deployment in the terms of what we do. Unfortunately, it was a fatal fire, but it has no impact on the operation of this. But it gave you the ability to do more than just stand at a pump panel. It gave you the ability to make sure that those younger folks who weren't ready.
Correct. I had eyes on them virtually all the time.
Yeah, that's a great story. So, Captain Hire, you guys have just ordered 4 of these. You don't have one of those stories yet. What is it that drove Lincoln County Fire Protection District to get 1, let alone get 4 of them?
We had some familiarity with the system from seeing it at FDIC, and some other neighboring departments had got it. And so we had a lot of experiences where we knew.
You had the exposure to it.
Yeah. And then we had experiences where we knew if we had Sam today, this job would have got done a lot easier. Or we missed a few steps because our guy was just too busy to get everything done. And so at the point we were able to order trucks, we were pretty much already sold on, hey, this is what we want to do. And it's rolled out seamlessly. Everybody's the training on it is very minimal. You can get guys operating in a very short period of time.
That's a significant investment, though. I mean, 1 engine is a significant investment, especially for a small mid-sized department. 4 of them, though?
With a combination department, training's very difficult when you have different apparatus that operate differently. So that was one of our big keys, is we wanted to figure out how we could make it where they can jump in any of those 4 trucks. They all operate the same. We pretty much got them all laid out the same. The equipment's in the same compartments. So we were just really trying to get that to where it was a uniform operation.
So and Hale and Sam is agnostic to the type of engine or the brand of engine you buy. Are all 4 of those the same brand engine?
They are all 4 the same brand.
Okay, and yours is different than his?
I'm completely different.
Okay. But the pump and the SAM is exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're getting 4 of them. Are they going to be frontline engines in each of the cases in different places, obviously?
2 frontline engines and then 2 pumper tankers.
Okay. And do you have minimum staffing, because you're a combination paid and volunteer department? Do you have minimum staffing on any of those engines currently?
1 engine will have a minimum of 3 on it right now.
Okay. So in that case, you get a lot of bigger departments that get 4 or 5, in some cases 6 as their minimum staffing, and they feel more comfortable dedicating sometimes dedicating one of those staff to that pump panel. But in this case, 3 people minimum. That's what it was when I was in Prince George's County to start. We were a 3-person minimum, not all the time, but we were a 3-person minimum. And that driver was doing what you were doing. That driver was throwing ladders. He was pulling hose lines. He was doing all the things that needed to be done. And the thing that ended up taking the beating in that was getting the hose line charge, because they're running around doing all those other things. So
and maybe it's not just getting the hose line charge, it's the adjustments that line needs. So all of a sudden it's got too much pressure for that rookie. But you got to wait till he gets that ladder put up to the window and can get back over to the truck
Yeah.
before he can lower that.
Where
line.
in this case, he can literally just pick up that tablet.
Absolutely.
Even if he's throwing the ladder, the tablet he's set down on the ground, or we talked about you're going to get a pouch made in your jacket where it'll fit right in. So you finish throwing that ladder and pull that out.
Right.
Done.
Like one little move and he's
one touch of a button,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
People say the tether, but I'm not a tether guy. I grab it, I set it down, I grab it, I just not that line of thinking. So
Yeah.
I think the pocket will end up being the
yeah, I mean, there's
choice.
some, they have it designed so that you can put your hand through it and hold it the way you were just holding it there, so that you can literally hold it in your hand. But if you're going to be using both hands to throw that ladder or to pull that hose line, you're not going to be able to, and you're going to set that down or put it in a pocket. So
they also, you can't screw it up by bumping it. So it's a single finger.
and
It
that
won't work.
That was
Yeah.
one of the things 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
ago. The guys were like, "Oh, I'm so afraid of if we a technical word here, guys. If we booger up the system by putting too many fingers on it, if we booger up the system, it's going to shut down everybody's line, or
No.
it's going to damage the pump." And this is a guy who's used it multiple times on. Well, both of you have used it, but you've used it on a fire successfully as the pump operator, and you're not able to screw it up.
No, it always asks you everything. Do you want to shut this line off? Yes. Do you want to increase pressure? Yes. Do you want to decrease pressure? Do you want to close the line? Yes. You're never doing one thing without it asking, are you sure you want
Right.
to do that?
Right. So it's a fail-safe. There's a fail-safe to it.
Correct.
So one of the things that in your paid staff at union or
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of times you implement new technology like this, and sometimes the labor organizations will come in and say, stop. That's a new technology. We need more dollars for training, or we need more of this, or we need more of that. How hard was it, or was it at all, to convince the union or the constituencies you needed to convince that this was the right thing for them to embrace? Or are you still having that struggle a little bit?
Not at all. Once we put it in service, the doubters were over. I mean, within my first 2 weeks, they don't want to run on any other truck.
Right.
I mean, it's that you get your hands on it and you're sold. But I think we just had to do a lot of homework ahead of time. We did a lot of groundwork probably for several years before we ordered trucks to get everybody to understand what the system's capabilities were and what it was going to do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an easy process. Change is never easy.
Right.
Probably wasn't any different when you started putting automatic transmissions in the fire truck. Everybody said, well, nobody's going to know how to drive now.
Right. Right. Trust me, or back steps, or three-quarter
Right,
boots,
yeah,
or any
absolutely.
of those things. Yeah. No,
Yep.
it's another piece of technology.
Yep.
So, $64,000 question, Chief. That's crazy stuff. It's digital and it's gonna break. The signal's gonna drop away. In the middle of fighting that fire, I'm gonna lose pressure in my line. It's gonna disconnect. Talk to me about that.
So, of course, I get mine in service and I get neighboring department, whatever.
Yeah.
It's what do you do if it breaks? What if you do if it goes down?
Yeah.
And I ask, what do you do with
Your
your
pump now.
shutdowns?
Yeah.
And if they're wise, they have the 9/16 wrench or 7/16, whatever. Kind of like we can run our truck with a 7/16 wrench.
Right.
We can
Right.
open valves just like we've
Yeah.
always done.
Yeah.
Whether it was our front mount pumps from the early years to, the other pumps we have now. You can operate them with, you hope that doesn't come to that, but you have that available. And I'll open up my SAM pump panel, and you'll see 7/16 wrenches Velcroed to the thing, just in case.
Yeah. So you open the door right, and ask those people. And I had to become a believer in this. Ask those people the same thing. Like you said, if your current mechanical pump breaks down, what do you do? Did any of them have a wrench Velcroed inside? Probably not.
Probably
it's probably
not.
in some other compartment.
Some of them know how to do it, but
Right.
a lot of them just
Yeah.
don't think that way. So we're very progressive. My crew is the absolute best, and it's their job. They try to break the system. And in doing so, they haven't broke the system, but we found amazing things that I'm not supposed to talk about, but the system goes way beyond what Jason ever designed for. It does things I think he never thought it would do. And like I was telling Alan, I'm kind of showing him, hey, you know,
It'll do this. Yeah.
I went to dinner with the chief from St. Charles Parish, and he's exact opposite of me. He's 100% industrial, and I'm bedroom community, no industry. But he's got the same staff. They're crazy. They're going to try to break the system, and they found out stuff it could do in doing so that is amazing.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think IDEX will come around and say, hey, it can do this, but they got guys just like us out really doing amazing things with a simple pump that they put together.
Yeah.
And my simple 1,500 gallon a minute pump does 2,200 gallons a minute. And when I get back, I'm going to push it to do 2,500 gallons a minute.
Good for you.
I know I can do it.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure sooner or later you'll be able to talk about more of those things. I know IDEX is working through the mechanics of what that all looks like, and making sure that you've got to do the R&D on those things. You can't just throw them out. So I definitely get that. Captain, what do you tell the department that might be on the fence? So we've got the naysayers. We've been talking to the naysayers here. What do you tell the department that might be on the fence about this? Take it across the goal line for them to the point where they're going to go, you know what, this is the right deal for us.
I mean, for sure, if they can get their pupils' hands on it, find somebody that's got a system. I think all these truck manufacturers can hook them up with somebody that's got a system and get those doubters on the system and just use it one time. Really, if they'll just use it one time, I think it'll take them over the line.
Yeah, you think to make them believers when they see it.
Yeah. And this is new to the pumping world, but like I told my guys, we've been driving since the early 2000s trucks with VMUX. We've had screens in the truck that turns our lights on, and
push button transmissions.
Push button transmissions. We've had all this stuff, and it's the same technology. It's just we moved it to the pumps now.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And like you said, when we went from manual transmission to automatic transmission, oh my God, everybody's going to wreck.
Right.
Nobody's going to be able to drive. And then we went from a lever to a push button. And then the big screen started showing up in the fire truck. Oh my God, that was the end of the world. So this is the same thing. Yeah. The difference is this is a tablet that you're able to walk around the fireground to be able to manage those hose lines, which is huge. So how about you? If you were going to try to convince those naysayers and the ones on the fence?
I will tell you this. Over the course of the last 2.5 years, I get at least one chief from the U.S. calling me, asking me about it. I've had many out to my department. Recently, it's pretty funny. I had a department in a neighboring county come over. They weren't interested in Sam. They were interested in my manufacturer, Spencer. They wanted a Spencer Michigan-made truck. I got it, and they wanted that truck. And they had no interest in Sam whatsoever. So they came out again, but this time I had everything set up, drafting, and I made them run the truck, and they're like, we got to have this.
Wow.
We have to have this system. Yeah. They couldn't walk away from it.
Yeah. So I think what we're hearing is you with a mid-level staffing and you with lower, all volunteer staffing, that this has been another tool in the toolbox, but it's probably one of the more important tools in the toolbox from the technological perspective. We've got thermal imagers. We've got all the things. Does everybody have a thermal imager in your? We have
the Scott Tick mask.
Okay.
So it's right in the mask.
Or running a Bowler thermal imager.
So we got those things. But this, given the ability for that engine operator to walk around the fireground and do the things they need to do, throw those extra letters, stretch those extra attack lines, chalk open the door, do all the different things, whatever it is that your department needs them to do, and still be able to operate the pump and not just charge hose lines, but manage the pump is a phenomenal breakthrough.
I equate the mindset is what I like to say is this is positive pressure ventilation. Back when you're going to do what? You're going to blow air into a house. That's what I equate because it had to change a lot of minds. And I think that's what this is, but better.
Boy, we've talked about it all. Rubber boots, back steps, PPV, manual transmissions.
And one of the other things, Alan had the training on it. We took delivery of ours, and Rod Riska from IDEX, he was in Wisconsin, we're in Michigan, and he was 2 weeks away. And he just simply said, play with it. And we put it into service the next day. Did everybody come out? We were able to learn that quickly.
Wow.
The concept is so easy. You get anybody that knows anything about firefighting, they can run it immediately. So,
Captain, any last words for the folks listening?
I think I'll go back a little bit when you were asking me on selling it. I think what people need to understand is all the same steps are being done that we're doing today. And I don't think it's real hard for firemen to understand when you're making their job easier. That thing's just completing the steps for them. They're making one swipe and it's doing 3 or 4 things. And once they understand that it's doing is making their job easier and allowing them to do more things, that's what sells them on it.
Final words?
I will tell you this. My captain said he felt like the horse watching the first automobile go by. That was his experience. It's easy. We put ours into service with no training. So it's that easy.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've been trying to break it for 2.5 years now. When I get back, we're going to try to break it again. And we're going to find out it does a little more than what we knew before.
I suspect from what I've seen, though, you're not going to break it. So
no, but we discover really cool stuff.
Well, I think what you've heard here from our discussion is that there's one constant in life, and that's change. And this is a change. This is a change from what everybody's used to, just like all the other things we talked about. But if you don't like change, you're going to hate extinction. And that's what's going to happen. We've got to make sure that we're wrapping our hands around the technological advances that are in front of us, because they're coming, they're here. So we either maximize that or we become extinct. So I appreciate the chief and the captain joining us here. This is Marc Bashoor from Fire Rescue One on behalf of IDEX, talking about the hail pump with the SAM system and the tablet, which hopefully is coming to a fire department near you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We do it for those who run toward the fire. We do it for those who run toward the shattered cars and the broken buildings, to rescue the exposed and helpless. We do it because they deserve the absolute best. The most reliable tools and equipment that will provide them a reliably safe and successful mission. We owe it to them. We owe it to them to work together. We owe it to them to provide the best customer support we can, and to stand behind our brands and solutions the same way we stand behind the people who put them to use. And we owe it to them to constantly conquer technology, strive for innovation, and move the industry as a whole forward. Because when they are putting their lives on the line, they can't be worried about what's in their hands or flowing through the hose. It must deliver. And that is why we do what we do. And why we owe it to them to get up in the morning. Because if we don't, we fail. And we do not fail. We work tirelessly to make the fireground and rescue scene safer. For all.